So I'm really excited to have Maria and Brian Clement of Hippocrates Health Institute.
Lillian,
So
hold off for about another 10 seconds because
okay.
it's connecting. Okay, they're both saying online now. Go.
You see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
I am online, and that is a really good thing. So I'm really excited that we have Maria and Brian Clement in the classroom today. We're going to be talking about helping those who have immune compromised immune systems, and the way that they've treated. And so make sure that you reach out to, go ahead and share with everybody, all you teachers' pets that are watching right now. Make sure you share. And we're going to be starting the class in a little bit. So if you have any questions, type in a Q. That goes for you too, YouTube, because YouTube and Facebook are live. We didn't go live today on Instagram. We decided that we're going to hold off doing that in the future. So for now, if you have any questions, make sure you type in a Q, write your questions, because many of you make comments. And so we want to make sure that all your questions are asked. You have two experts here that can answer any questions you might have. So today, you will fasten your seatbelt because it's time to learn and grow together. It's time to dance. You ready to dance?
Not until you put the record button on.
Oh, not until I do the record button. Thank you so much. Here we go. Oh, that's right. I need to do my little intro. See, this is what happens. You get the background stuff before we do the record. Here we go. So today we are talking with Maria and Brian Clement of Hippocrates Health Institute. We're going to talk about how to build, and not just build immune system of a healthy person or a person that, but someone who has a compromised immune system already. They've already helped some people with COVID-19, and they're going to share their story with all of us. So fasten your seatbelt. This time, it's time to learn and grow together. And it's time to dance this time. Here we go.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear. Bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
you. This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and my viewing friends. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, because you know Maria and Brian Clement are in the classroom today, then please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and my viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, today, it's always a dream when we have Maria and Brian Clement in the classroom. Today, we have two for the price of one, or maybe two for the price of 10. I don't know how it goes, but we have great experience between the two of them to how to live a natural life. There's so much fear out there about people spreading COVID-19. And for the last 2 months, we have dedicated this class to empowering us to make some choices. Now is the time to make some changes. And we've been talking about boosting our immune system. We've been talking about boosting our or replenishing our spirit. We've been doing everything we possibly can to be as healthy as we possibly can as well. But here's the thing. We haven't really discussed about how to deal with the elderly. How, if somebody does have a compromised immune system now, and is now facing the fact that they are volatile And we're always volatile if we're not healthy. But because of COVID-19, more people are now in quarantine, and especially the ones that are immune compromised. Well, if you've never gone to Hippocrates Health Institute in South Florida, then it is time to learn about it. It is a beautiful place that I would love to go to. I love to go to their cafeteria and eat their wonderful raw vegan food. It's a place where you go and heal. It's a place where you go and learn about your life and yourself, past traumas, and you heal spirit, mind, and body. So I asked both Anna Maria and Brian Clement if they could come on and talk about these people that they're helping heal, not just of cancer and other illnesses that are, many of them are man-made, change of lifestyle, but also of the COVID-19, people that are there and how they've done this. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Anna Maria and Brian Clement are here to do just that. Welcome to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show classroom.
So nice to be with you.
Thank you. So beautiful. Thank you.
Well, you know, it's always nice to see the two of you because you guys are living, some people say, do as I say, not as I do. But I see how you both live this lifestyle and there's no compromise. It is what it is. And so as a result, you are out there championing a lot of people that need to learn these new truths. So let's start from the very beginning and some of the services that people can see today. You know, how has this plague, some call it, I'm not even going to call it what people call it, but how has it affected Hippocrates Health Institute?
Well, we'll start by explaining to the listening audience that we were the pioneers in the alternative or complementary health field. We opened the doors nearly 65 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so we created the frontier for this. And from those early days, you know, Ann and I were not there at that point. Combined, we have 97 years of work together. This is my 50th and Anna Maria's 47th year.
Wow.
Anna ran centers in Europe. She's Swedish and directed the most renowned center in the world for inflammatory disease. And Ann and I have had the privilege to direct Hippocrates for 40 years, since 1980. And so ever since I joined the team in 1975, our whole focus here has been immunity. And when you study the immune system, you're going to gain faith. If you don't know that there's a God and you don't know there's a universe, just please get to an intelligible teacher and let that woman or man explain the brilliance of these cells. They are an armed forces that's unbeatable, that their entire job for the history of humanity has been to protect you from viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, fungus, and cancer. And even though you don't acknowledge them and have gratitude for these immune system cells, start having it today. Mm-hmm. If we had a magic wand, a negative magic wand, and put it over people's heads and wiped out your immunity, we'd all be dead in 3 to 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. The bacteria in the room you're sitting listening to us now would kill you. The viruses that are floating around in the air would kill you. So we've got to respect this more. So all of the thousands of people who have come through the program and healed themselves of viruses and other diseases, it's because we are experts in boosting the immune system. So how has this affected Hippocrates? Well, Hippocrates is an institute that always uses a multitude or multi-dimensional approach. So our departments and our partners that are open are doing food-based IVs, hyperbaric chambers, inhaled oxygen under infrared. Our psychotherapy department is open because a lot of people are panicking at this point. We have people here from 3 countries on campus with us. And before people can come into the program now, they go to the hotel 5 minutes away. We test, our medical team tests them for the virus. And once they are passing it, they come onto the program. So we are a 19-free zone, let's put it that way. The 36 people I've worked with who have had the virus, here's what we now know. Anna Maria has brought to my life into the Institute language. She speaks 7 languages. So we spend a lot of time looking at the literature from all over the world and constantly read the journals of science. And here's what you may not hear on the news, and certainly the politicians won't tell you because they ought not to be talking about science, is this is a virus that is nowhere near as dangerous or as contagious as you're being told. They've just suppressed information out of Stanford and the University of Southern California that did a study with the city of Los Angeles, and both concurred that we most likely had this virus way back in the early autumn. Mm-hmm. And the likelihood is that we have between 0.1% and 0.4% of the population, which is about the same as colds and flus.
Yes. We
also know that over 85% of all people who have been mortal, have died from this, have pre-existing conditions. There's no exception to that. Even the young people who did pass from this, it's a handful, not many, anywhere on the globe, literally were found later through autopsies to have diseases that were not diagnosed. We also know that the epidemiologist who was intelligent in Sweden and chose not to lock down is doing the most diligent and brilliant scientific work on this. It will be published in the next month and a half, more than any other country, including the United States, that they didn't lock down and their mortality rate is less, and people, their economy has only gone down 4% in the last 2 months. So this is an international ploy, a scheme. We just learned that 3 days ago, Bill Gates was invited on the most popular news show in Germany, a very short show that goes for 30 minutes. They gave him 20 minutes convincing the public of Germany he's going to save the world, that they're all going to take vaccines. Today, we were told that Oxford has been working on vaccines for years. So that's why overnight they were able to get this and purport to us now that by September, they're going to fill vaccine prescriptions, millions in Europe, and sometime shortly after do this. We also know Bill Gates is funding 7 studies on vaccines, and that he is the man who has chips that they'll insert in the vaccine into your body that will monitor you. He's worked with MIT and funded the study where they're going to put infrared into the vaccine. So if you have had it, it will show. If you haven't had it, it will show. He's a man that basically is pro-vaccine because his money no longer comes from technology nearly as much as it comes from pharmaceuticals. People would like to think he's a great American. I think he's a great con man, and we see it now. The colors are coming out. So let me sum up what I've just said. We are sure that this is no more than any flu, that people with obesity, people with diabetes, people with cardiovascular problems die from the flu generally, and this is about the same. There is suspicion that this did not come from cross-species contamination, but was actually funded by your National Institute of Health here in the States, in North Carolina. And once the handful of legitimate government officials learned about that, they took the money and gave over 300 million American tax dollars to the Wuhan, China bioengineering group. And that's for sure. This can all be checked. So yes. Your American dollars have basically gone. One of our close friends and advocates for America, one of the great Americans, is Del Bigtree. Yep. You may want to see Del Bigtree. They're pulling his information down, just like they did the doctors from the University of Southern California and Stanford yesterday. They came out to tell you what I'm telling you. They pulled it down. But Del Bigtree has a show. If you're lucky, you find it on YouTube. And it's called High Wire.
The High Wire.
So, people need to see this. America, you are being fooled. Your immune system is your best friend. Nature, God, and the universe gave you that immune system, and be strong. And we will come out of this stronger, because this is going to backfire on the powers that be. For the first time in my 50 years of work, people are talking about the immune system. People are talking about clean up their lifestyles. Fear is bad because it weakens your immune system. But if fear is an impetus for change, God bless fear.
And, you know, it's interesting because for the last, I would say 3 months, I have been doing a lot of research, and everything you're saying, I have verified. We have not had a doctor so boldly come on the classroom and say these things, but because we have been focusing on growing ourselves into a better person, which I believe that all of us have this opportunity to say yes right now, to choose health for ourselves. But in the meantime, I've said over and over and over again that this is more than the flu, that this is a agenda of forced vaccination, and we need to wake up. We do need to wake up. I know that this class may not be in the in wherever it's being recorded right now, and we'll probably upload this in BitChute. So those of you who would like to share it might be able to share it on BitChute because they're uncensored. But we are being censored, and it is so important that we wake up. And you know, and either one of you can respond to this. You know that my class, the class that we have here, is our class, and I have been very strong, and it's that I say that I don't do politics and I don't do sports, because there are other people who do a much better job than I do, and I have felt so disempowered by politics that I don't know who to trust, who to believe, and I'm not for one or against the other. Just like I'm not against vaccines, I am for choice. And one of the things that I wanted to share, and I would like for you to comment on this, you know, we have built a platform in the United States that we believe that we have a right to choose. We even have a right to choose an abortion or partial birth abortions that Obama put into law shortly after he came into play, into the presidency. I don't see any excuse to do partial birth abortion, but we do have a right to choose if we're going to carry a child, not carry a child. We have a right to choose. So let's talk about this right to refuse a vaccine. Why, if we can choose to, if we can say whatever is our body, we can choose whatever we do with our body, why would it end with vaccination? And I don't know
profit.
if
It's purely profit, control, and manipulation, and an agenda to, I believe, reduce population. So let's go back and talk about, a lot of people listening out there consider yourself patriotic, and you're taking stands today, no matter what side you believe you're closer to, that are not the stands of your forbearing forefathers. The group of individuals that created the Constitution of the United States were brilliant. And the premise of America, they fled the world to have a separation between church and state. So if it is holy enough to allow people to have spiritual belief, I don't think there's any more important than health choice. Health choice is your life, the life of your children, the life of fellow humans, fellow citizens, and humanity on whole. So if you believe somehow, because you've been manipulated, that you should advocate on things you know nothing about, I feel sorry for you. So when you bring up, for instance, what you said correctly, religion or politics, almost immediately you're going to have a fight. But vaccines fall into that category.
yes.
They've done such a brilliant job in my lifetime of nearly 70 years to brainwash the public. They literally almost put a scarlet letter on you if you don't want to vaccinate your children. Now, I've read about 687 books on the subject of vaccines, fund and attend and speak at conferences that literally have the top and leading women and men on the subject from around the world come, and we keep up to speed with it. Probably the most important book I've ever read, because the lay public, you listening, will understand this, and it's a very short book, is called Thimerosal. You may not know this. Thimerosal is the deadly ethyl mercury that every vaccine in the world has. Thimerosal. And it was really written by a Harvard and Tufts University doctors. And to get it to be more public, Robert Kennedy Jr., who's an environmental attorney, put his name on it. But read the book Thimerosal. Next, see the movie Vexed.
Vexed, yeah.
Wakefield began to do this movie, then a great American, I mentioned earlier, Big Tree helped him, and they did Vexed 2. And as we speak, there's more and more of these coming out. All I can say to you is that wake up, people. Blow the smoke out of the room and understand. I'll repeat what I said earlier. These vaccines will be implanting chips in your body. You will no longer be able to say, I took the vaccines, because they're going to have infrared technology that 3 months ago, MIT said they have developed. That's being funded by Bill Gates. These are realities. These aren't crazy people talking about nonsense you don't want to hear. You may not want to hear it, but I'm going to say it anyway. And the reality is, we have 4 children, none were vaccinated. Our children chose not to vaccinate any of our 8 grandchildren. And why? Because we sit here on the front line of health every single day, and we see the result of it. Read the brilliant work out of the courageous woman who's the top professor at MIT. MIT is the most advanced institute of science on the planet Earth. If you get into MIT, you're a genius. If you're a professor there, most likely you're a Nobel laureate. Dr. Seneff edits the research before it publishes at MIT. She came out and said, we are now going to have half the children born in the developed world with autism. And yes, it's high fructose corn syrup, but it's also vaccines.
Well, you know, and I want to add also, I've had the pleasure to meet both Del and Andrew Wakefield, who are just amazing people. And then also who opened my eyes to vaccines 4 years ago was Judy Mikovits. And Judy is, I'm doing a class on Friday. I normally don't have a class. We have a watch party, but we're going to have her back on because she was told to retract what she discovered. It's not just about the thimerosal and about the mercury or the aluminum or the formaldehyde. It's about the animal viruses that are in and taken from the sample and put into the batch, that the animals are, you know, their viruses are part of their life, just like we have viruses. We're trillions of bugs, bacteria and cells in our body, but that in a mouse, that bacteria that doesn't hurt them, but in our body, it's creating a lot of disease.
Yeah, what they always come back, and you know this because I'm sure you've been approached, is look at what the polio vaccine did. Well, let me tell you more of that story than the listener knows.
Yeah.
They got the 37 viruses out of a Ricci monkey, the little small monkeys that are orange and they run around and they're cute. Yeah. Well, a new rare form of brain cancer came from that. Now, grant you, not everyone that took the vaccine got that, or not everyone that takes the vaccine gets autism, but here are the numbers. A little more than 30 years ago, people 18 years old and younger in the United States, only 12.5% of them had chronic disease. 30 years later, 54.8%, over half the young people are sick. We sit here and see it. They come with cancer. They come with ADD. They come with diabetes. They come with heart disease at 20 years old. This is not something that's obscure. This is in the face of every doctor on the planet Earth who's empathetic, conscious, and caring. It's that simple. It breaks our heart when we work with people who are 60 and 70 and we're sick. We've had a life. But when I'm with a family in my office where they have a 12-year-old kid dying of a disease that because we weaken the immune system from bad choices of food, in front of technology 24 hours a day, and taking vaccines that have deadly viruses, bacteria, and deadly chemicals in it, this is why we're seeing these things. Not because we think so, because experts like us know so.
So the flu vaccines killed a ton of people. And the swine flu vaccine, when it came to my country, Sweden and Finland, it gave people narcolepsy, big time. So every time a new vaccine comes out, a few 100,000 people are going to either die or be sick from it.
Tell about the fund.
So there's, so you can't sue the pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
So you end up suing.
They have no liability. No liability.
So we go back to 1986, during the Reagan administration. The pharmaceuticals were almost broke because so many people lost their children, and their children were autistic and maimed, and they went to court and easily won. So the pharmaceuticals came to the government and said, we're no longer going to vaccinate, and vaccines are saving lives. We're going to go out of that business. So you better pass a law to protect us.
And it was mutual. They thought it was a win-win.
That's right. So in a free country, should we have a government saying, by the way, you can't sue a company that's making billions and billions of dollars on a product? Let's go to phase 2. It went as far as the Supreme Court, the ultimate court in America. Your Supreme Court sold you out and basically said you cannot sue vaccine companies when they knew there was a slush fund of millions and millions, hundreds of millions a year of tax dollars, your tax dollars, going to families quietly that have sick and dead children, period. Your Supreme Court said you can't sue them. So now if nobody wants to sue them because they can't get a lawyer, because they string you along because they have your tax dollars to fight people who have sick and maimed children. So when you can find a lawyer, you don't sue the company that gave the vaccine to your child. You have to sue the United States government. And they don't care. And nobody goes as far as winning because that's it. This is a democracy. This is legitimate healthcare.
No, so
Well, I want to ask you, Anna Maria, because it's so important. You know, I've researched where they've said that COVID-19 is really a response where our immune system is producing exosomes, and that the exosome, which is the naturally occurring, this is how our body is so beautifully created, is fighting whatever invader is in our body. But because, as you had mentioned, it may be altered, that once it reaches someone who has ACE inhibitors, someone who's vaccinated, all of a sudden this just explodes into what we've seen as the fearful COVID-19 with overflowing hospitals. And so then what causes is a cytokine storm, and that the body can't handle this. So with knowing and researching this, and knowing that exosomes are produced when there's fear, let's talk about the fear that you've experienced with dealing with your patients, your clients from all over the world. Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
yeah, I mean, that is horrendous right now, of course. It's calmed down a little bit as people are secluded. You know, first of all, we're on a diet. We've been on a diet the last, I would say, 60, 70 years that was never heard about. I mean, it's never existed on the planet, all, you know, for millions of years. We really have screwed up. We've changed lifestyle all day. You know, after 4 hours of sitting, our body starts to deteriorate, first of all. And every 30 seconds, somebody dies from a cardiovascular attack, right? Every 4 minutes, somebody dies from a stroke. It's a brain attack. So if we put it in perspective, what is a vaccine going to do to your health and your lifestyle? Nothing. Okay, it's going to bring in, like you say, microbes, bacteria that your body now will have to fight, but it's an evil
Not
one.
human.
immune
No,
system
not human.
One.
Not
Yeah.
human bacteria is going into our body.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, they actually do.
So fear, yes, because anybody that has obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular, and any chest problem, asthma or emphysema, of course, is going to have enormous fear because they're told every day. And anybody like us being over 65, oh my gosh, you know, it's horrendous. And we all need to learn about lifestyle. We all need to learn how to eat and exercise and sleep and go to bed early. And, you know, that your immune system is absolutely taking care of any infection.
Yeah. Our conversations went from 2 months ago dealing with people's specific health questions to psychology.
Yes.
We've become, you know, pseudo psychologists, and our psychotherapists that have worked with us here for decades, they're taking calls all day from all over the world.
And that's your background, right, Brian? Your background, you have a PhD in psychology, right?
No, I'm a PhD in nutrition.
Nutrition. Oh, for some reason, I thought you had psychology. I apologize for that. No.
I should have it,
Well,
especially now.
We spend our days, it's kind of like it.
Yeah.
You've got university, life university skills there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
What that is, yeah.
But, you know, as you pointed out, this is the number. There's 2 ways to destroy your immune system, even more so than junk food. Number 1 is fear.
Yeah.
And number 2 is not sleeping enough.
Yeah.
And when you have fear, what don't you do? You don't sleep enough. So, I mean, it's a whammy.
Yeah.
It's a whammy. Then you add on top of that, people not being nourished, people not walking out of their house, sitting and watching television. And what are they watching? Shock news all day long.
Yeah.
Talking heads. So it's a recipe for death to dying. And we've seen some really frightening statistics where domestic abuse has gone up 3 times, where divorces in New York have doubled, where there is child abuse going on at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. We in America have been living on a drug called success. And all at once, it was snatched out of everyone's hands. And just a few weeks ago, they said, you can't do what you've normally done. You can't have the fun you've normally had. You can't work the way you normally have. We have more people unemployed than we had in the Great Depression. And there's no way they can print enough money to take care of that. And the reality is the world has radically shifted. And one thing that leaders have known from the beginning, devious leaders have known, is you divide and you conquer. That's why in this country, and you articulated this, they make believe there's a right and a left. There's Americans. There's not a right and left. And it's on television, they mold your mind. And they come up with ideas like there's fake, they're fake, and you're fake. The truth of the matter is, truth is abundantly clear once you're well enough to feel truth. Mm-hmm. I know when somebody's lying. I don't have to be told they're lying. You know, it's clear, it's apparent. And when you have the natural given, God-given instinct of health and consciousness, you don't get fooled. You're not pulled along. You're not under the thumb. You don't get the fear. You know, the reality is life has radically changed. And I think it's going to backfire on these people because people are awakening. They're really awakening, and we're not going to stop marching.
There is an awakening, and I want to encourage, for those of you who are watching right now, we've done a lot of classes on building the immune system. The last 2 months, if you go to my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, the last couple of months, we have focused on building our body and taking away and eliminating the fear and leaving it to chance and saying, oh, you know, you're responsible for how I feel. No, and the beauty is that if we created this cacophony of whatever, of all the stuff that's happening in our body right now. If we created it, we can uncreate it. We can take our power back. And that's what I love about the two of you and what you're doing and teaching people how to reinvent themselves in a way that's nourishing to the body. If we give the body what it needs, the body will respond in kind. It will, because God created, our creator who created us gave us the power to create as well. We are co-creators, and it is just so beautiful to see that when we give the body what it needs, it automatically falls in line, and that includes emotionally as well. Anna Maria, is there something we want to add? It looks like
well, I wanted to, so people can start, if they haven't already, they know that this virus is very sensitive to temperature shifts. So of course, here, every guest that's here are doing saunas every day, and you're bringing the temperature up in your body and the virus dies. Then they also know now, I think University of Massachusetts came out and they said it's very sensitive to acidity. So if you keep your body in an alkaline state, which is all the sprouts and the
plant-based
foods,
lemon.
It's not coffee, it's not chocolate, it's not smoking, it's not alcohol, it's not any animal product. So you choose the good stuff.
Yeah. And if you don't,
and that's one thing that we have got to understand. We're not giving up food. We're embracing good health. Yeah. And I think that when we have this lack mentality, this mentality of, oh, I'm missing out on my Twinkies. Yeah. No, we'll never make it. We are embracing health and getting rid of disease. So with the people that you have been helping, you've helped 36 people that have been positive with COVID. So how are some of the things that you are doing today to help them? I know that this is like the common flu, but unlike the common flu, you know, if you're taking ACE inhibitors or been vaccinated, it doesn't have that explosion that COVID-19 has, because you know, like Judy Mikovits, she's going to share her job many years ago was how to teach a virus that wouldn't jump on you, how to jump on you.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know this, but she feels horrible about this. This is what she was told to do, and she was doing it. She was trying to figure out what these things, what would be the limit? What would be the limit? And let's bring it up to the limit. Never did she ever think that it would be used to work against us. Yeah. So with that in mind, I would love to hear some of the things you had talked about the raising up and going into a sauna. Yeah. One of the things that we've talked about here with Dr. Carlos Garcia, I don't know if you know who he is, but he came on and said, hey, if you get a fever, if it's below 104, let it ride, because it's killing the virus. It's doing exactly what it needs. What kind of advice do you share with people that have a fever and they're freaking out because it's now more than 99 or 101 or 102, and they need to take that medication that will bring their fever down?
The doctor was absolutely correct. You have to just monitor 2, 3, 4 times a day. And if you're 102, 103, you're fine. Now, if it was an infant, it's a different story. So if you had, but children are basically not getting this. There's some speculative ideas that there's a secondary mutation of this virus and creating something like inflammatory joint problems for children. There's 3 cases in the United States, but let's not get into that. We also, if you don't have a sauna, you have a tub in your home, fill it up with water as hot as you possibly can take it, put a ½ cup of ginger powder, not cut up ginger. You have to get it on the internet, buy pounds at a time, ginger powder, and you get in there, and just before you go to bed at night, try to sit and soak up to 20 minutes, right up to your nose, so you're just breathing. Get out and wrap your body in cotton towels, put it down in the bed, cover yourself. You should sleep like a baby, and it raises body temperature throughout the night for you. Why this works so effectively with this 19 is that it has a lipid cell wall. We also know why the respirators are not working. The respirators are not working. I did a whole program on this.
Thank you for talking about this in the classroom. I really appreciate you. So keep going.
If you look this up, I did it. I was on all the social media. It's called Immunity, COVID-19, and the future of humanity. And I actually did a graphic on it for it. So this is a consensus. We're clear on this now, that you have the red blood cell. In it, you have the hemoglobin, where you get oxygen from. And what makes the hemoglobin work is called HEMS, H-E-M-E-S. Let's imagine it's a round circle with a cross in the middle. So all of those are 4 quarters. So the 19 comes and attaches itself to one of the 4 quarters, pulls it off, and literally starts to pour the oxygen in the bloodstream. Now, why that's a problem is that in its whole form goes up into the sac in the lungs. And why, when they put the respirators on, they're not working, is because the 19 will not allow the HEMS to fill the lungs up. And they're now saturating the body, creating oxidative stress hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times quicker than aging and bad living does. And people are dying of oxidative stress. And there's courageous doctors now in Italy that have said that, and a wonderful man in Brooklyn on the very front line. Yeah.
Oh, he came out right away and said, this is like high altitude sickness.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
You
so,
know, and we talked about this in the classroom, that he had never had anyone ask him, Doc, when's the latest you can intubate me? That you have to put this, and that just blew him away. No one's ever, they're usually incoherent, and they, you know, they put the tube in their mouth, and then the machine starts breathing, and it's too much for the body.
Oh,
And he said, we've got to change the protocols here.
he's
we're
now
not-
saying it's close. He said 70. Now he says close to 80% are dying because of respirators. or in
That's
part
right.
the
And
respiration.
that's what might be, and we're not, you know, these are statements that have been out there. And as you know, I don't try to sensationalize things. I want to bring it to an empowering place. And so we do have some questions that I want to share with you right now. And so I want people to feel empowered and do the research. Don't believe me. Don't believe Brian. Don't believe Anna Maria. Do your own research, because if you're just repeating what we say, it's not your truth. You're just doing exactly what the media wants you to do. I want you to research it. I have so much information that I've been able to research in the last several months, to the point where I have patents, copies of patents of Zika, of HIV, of Ebola, of Epstein's Barr. You know, it's
These were created. They were
crazy.
created. Yes.
You cannot patent a naturally occurring organism. You
That's
can't.
right.
You can't patent ginger, but
No.
you can patent ginger with a recipe. So one of the questions is that Victoria has, and Susan, I'll also ask your question in a second. I just saw that right now. So, well, let me start with Susan, because she's probably been waiting the longer. She says she wants to know about a balanced immune system, but what about titers? I don't understand titers, so this is new to me. Can you explain that, either one of you?
So when you're actually looking at the immune system, this is a measurement that is often used in medicine. And what you have to do is you have, the premise is, and it's not always correct, that you have to keep the titers below a certain number.
Okay.
And if they raise above, that's it. So just because you expand and strengthen immunity, activity of cell is what immune function is, doesn't mean the titers are going to be problematic. The human body has an inherent intelligence to know what to do and what not to do. So one of the problems we have in diagnostic technology and allopathic medicine, although we need it, is that we're often testing the antibodies, the antigens, the titers, the proteins, rather than looking specifically for the virus itself or the bacteria, cancer, whatever else it is that we're looking for. So I wouldn't worry all about that, love, that when you're eating clean food, organic food, plant-based food, when you're taking direct, clear supplementation, and the most important of all medicines we've seen with this virus and others, by the way, is garlic, raw garlic. Nothing works better. It's
Love
the
garlic.
cheapest thing on the planet Earth.
You just have to apologize to those you love. Just say, you know,
No,
bad.
this is a good time because they'll stay at least 6 feet away from you.
okay, so there's always something beautiful that comes out of that. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. If I get a tingling in my throat, or if I start feeling, I just cut up a tiny little piece of garlic. I put it, and I learned that from one of the teachers in the classroom who is a pharmacist up in Jacksonville.
Yes.
And when he told me about it, I'm like, get out. And I took a tour of his pharmacy, and he showed me his diploma and his certification. It says he is certified to administer poison.
Yeah.
It says it exactly like that in his
Can you
certification.
imagine in the words of poison? Whoa.
Poison. Yes. I could
Every
probably
doctor should have one of those.
You have to go and see it. It says it. That he has that he can administer poison.
Wow.
And I saw it with my own eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Well,
can I, anyway.
He's cleaning up his act by telling you about the garlic, though. He's right about that.
Yeah, it just brought me back there. Yeah.
Easy
Okay.
way to use garlic is to chop pieces of apple and pieces of garlic and chew them together.
Yeah, you
Ah.
chew the apple and it puts pectin in your mouth. So when you take a small sliver, you don't burn your mouth. It's like eating a garlic apple.
And it's delicious.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Another one is vitamin D.
Oh,
Vitamin D.
you want to know the latest on the vitamin D?
What's
We've
the
spent a
latest?
lot of time last week looking at this. We now know that every one of your cells, 100 trillion cells in your body, all of them have vitamin D receptor sites. So through the human progress, can you imagine that it's such an important nutrient that every cell evolved to need it?
Well, the sun. Everything comes
Yeah,
from the
because we
sun.
were all, remember, until 5 generations ago, all of us were in the sun all of the time.
Yeah.
Second part, this is really amazing. So we've now started this protocol. Besides putting people on the program, putting them in hyperbaric chambers here and putting inhaled oxygen in them, we're taking our vitamin D, which is made out of a vine. It's a plant, it's the strongest one on the planet, 99% absorbable into the cell, not out of a chemical laboratory. We take the powder out of the little capsule, put a small amount of something like an organic oil, and then take it and put it in the nostrils. Now, what this does, you have receptor sites that convert that over to virus-killing immunity.
Right.
Wow.
Everyone listen very closely. So get a high quality, like a life-give plant-based form of vitamin D. It's a powder, it's a ground up vine. You put it in a small amount of oil, not a lot. You just dip your finger in it. I don't want a lot in your nose. Dip it and surround your nostrils here. These receptor sites specifically convert it over to a virus-killing immune cell, killer cells. And so since we've been using that the last few days, we're seeing outstanding results.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so because we only have 10 minutes to the podcast,
Right.
and for those of you who are listening on the podcast later on, I want to encourage you and invite you to our live broadcast where you can ask questions. I have some questions here still that I need to ask, but you're welcome to join us as well. And I want to encourage all of you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, because after today, I don't know if we'll have a show. After today, I may not have a class, but we have to take a stand. We need to stand up.
Yeah.
And if we don't take a stand for something, we'll fall for everything.
Yeah.
And so I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Please subscribe so that you know where to find me if you can't find me tomorrow in the classroom. And so, and while you're there, and they're working on this right now on the website. So we don't know if something has challenged my website right now, but my web guy is working diligently to put some new things on there, like the BitChute account. So please go to BitChute, because that is an uncensored YouTube-like a group. And so I've been uploading all my shows there. And so the next thing I want to encourage you to go to Lillian's radio show on Facebook, like and follow me there, YouTube, subscribe there so that you know when we're coming on. But most importantly, BitChute, I've got 11 followers there right now. So we need to get that going so that we can transfer there just in case they start censoring even more. And so while you're there, check out my sponsors. Without my sponsors, there would be no classroom. Sponsors like Liberty Health Share, Keep Me Safe Organics, First Alternative Care, which is telemedicine for the entire family for $45 a month. And that includes behavior health counseling 3 hours a year, but unlimited non-urgent care, which includes flu, and also dermatology for $45 a year for the entire household. And Nutritional Oncology Research Institute, which I'm so excited to introduce you. That's my latest sponsor. The pharmacy in Merritt Island, Live Longer Medical, and my affiliate sponsors, Ground Therapy and Brain Tap. These are all working together so that your body will start getting rid of all these toxins that are there. And finally, so figure out how you can support my sponsors the way they're supporting this classroom. Last, you can become an enrolled student. How? By helping us with time, talent, or treasure. If you have $1 a month or 50 cents, whatever it is, $20 for the 2020 year, whatever it is that you can donate, please go on to the enrolled student and go on there and donate as you can. Or if you know how to figure out why my websites have been compromised, then maybe you can help out with that too. So there's so many different ways that we can help each other grow. So please be kind to my sponsors and figure out how you can support them, as well as the teachers that are in the classroom. For those of you who want to learn more about Hippocrates Health Institute, you can call them. All over the world, people go from all over. It is the most beautiful place that I just love going there. Anytime they want me there, I am there in a heartbeat. You can call 1-800, because I want to give you the 1-800 number if you're calling from anywhere around the world. That's 842-2125. That's 800-842-2125. Or you can go to Hippocrates Institute. Let me see. Let me just, what is the website? It's Hippocrates Health Institute.
HippocratesInstitute.org. We're
.org. Yeah. I know I have it here. I didn't go to it right now. But anyway, that's where you go to learn these new truths. Okay. So before we go anymore, I just want to answer some of these questions because we have 5 minutes left and I want the people in the podcast. And by the way, we're going to continue afterwards. Hopefully if we have a little bit more time and answer any more of your questions or any of the other things that we might have. Okay, so we answered the question about the titers. Now, what about, you had mentioned garlic, ginger in the water, in your bath water. Can you use essential oils?
Yes.
You can.
Oh, for sure.
They're going to work differently. An old Indian or Ayurvedic treatment to heat the body up, similar to a sauna, would be the ginger powder where you soak in it 20-30 minutes. But essential oils have a whole nother role they play.
Okay.
And there's one called the thief.
Yes.
And the thief, I didn't realize this till recently, was actually created during the Black Plague.
Yes, the mixture.
Yeah, you know this.
Yeah.
And so for the listeners, we'll repeat.
Yes.
The men who had the courage to go in and get the bodies out of the buildings, the homes, put this in, and none of them got sick. And now it's an essential oil combination. Other companies call it something else. doTERRA calls it the Guard, I think. But there's many, many good companies with this, and start using this. When we're on planes, we use this. We use it also silver. Up our nose constantly on a plane. And it's amazingly effective.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I have a question here, and I tell you what, let me see, because I'm getting lots of questions now. I want to make sure I see. Okay, so it says question from Iva. Okay, it says to both of you. They want to know this, and you know what? I don't know if we'll have time to answer this, but it says, please comment more on how to be brave and to speak without fearing censorship. And of course, the question just, and more, asking on behalf of those ready to speak up and still uncertain. And so on behalf of those who are ready to hear this information, that's a wonderful thing. But those who do not want to hear this, it doesn't matter how much you beg them to do the research. So we have 2 minutes left in the classroom. And I know that I would love for you to answer this after our disclaimer and we go into our teacher's pets. all of those teachers' pets that stay after the class. Is it okay for you guys to answer that question?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so really quick, Anna Maria, you got 1 minute to share, give us some hope, because this is about hope.
Yeah. So every day we have televised, we have our own television, and we send out information, and we send a lot of hope, because all the latest research is coming this way. It's about lifestyle. It's not about taking pills, medicine. Right now, it's about changing your lifestyle, and everybody's starting to see that, who's really researching and who's into science. So the hope is that we can get our voices out, like you and us and so many other people, Del Bigtree and Joel Furman, and so many people that are into this, that will tell you the real deal is lifestyle. You have the power and you can change things. But you need to change. It's not going to happen as long as I'm eating tons of sugar and heavy carbs. It's feeding all my problems. And of course, the underlying things, obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular, that's what I can work on. And most of that is totally changeable.
Yes, yes. And we're going to continue our conversation with all the teachers' pets and Anna Maria and Brian Clement when we are done here. So please join us in the future if you want to learn more. Hippocrates Health Institute is in beautiful West Palm Beach, and we're going to continue our conversation after the podcast. And please remember, you can take a pill or you can take responsibility. Please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott, Anna Maria, and Brian Clement wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, this has been in me now for the last 2-3 months, because this is not my platform. My platform is to empower people and give them, spoon feed them, because not everybody is ready for a new truth. Not everybody is ready. So if I am like the starter, kit for them, and they can start growing and growing and growing, but to learn that, and I've been saying this for a while, that this is more than just a epidemic, a pandemic. This is more than that. But to have the two of you here, to be able to, everything you're saying, I have researched everything you're saying. Now, the question was, before we went, was how to be brave. How to be brave, especially not get hooked with those who don't want to hear this.
Well, we all are brave. We take for granted a lot of the things we do daily. You get up every day, you put your clothes on, many of you work, you contribute, you volunteer. You really are a brave person. But what has happened is that you allowed your power to be taken away because you lost values.
Well, we were told we didn't have powers. We had to wait to talk to a doctor, wait to talk to a priest, wait. And, for all this stuff. So we were told that we didn't have power.
Yes. Well, just because you're told you don't have power doesn't mean you don't. It's an inherent energy. It's your birthright to have power. And everyone can rekindle it. People who have been meek and quiet, and they come and sit in front of us and say they're dying of a disease. I've seen thousands of these people get the power that they have already and heal themselves. So focus on what you really believe in, and what your values are is what you believe in, and live by them, and you will be able to do this.
That's great. That's great. Anna Maria, would you like to add to that?
Well, I hate when power is taken away, and so many of our guests comes here and they've been told there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, you got 3 weeks to live.
So that's the power is gone. And then they come here and then they talk to other guests, and 80% of our guests comes back. So they probably talk to somebody that healed. And that person said, I healed myself. This is what I did. I followed the program and I did a lot of psychology, a lot of emotional work, and changed a lot of things in my life. And this is where I'm at. And now I just come back to have vacation. And imagine when you hear that and you're in the slump and you've been told absolutely nothing can be done. You're going to listen to, and you're going to grasp that hope. And that's what the Institute is about. And of course, that's what you are about. I think, but it's not hocus pocus. We've been doing this. The Institute is 64 years. We started the lifestyle movement. And I think people now want to belong to a movement. And this is what it is. It is going to be a huge movement. And people will say, never again. We're not taking this again. We're not letting them take our power, our jobs. Now, so many people with things they love to do, they're sitting home, they can't do it.
Yeah.
I think America is going to have a revolt. I think if it's not physical, it will be emotional.
A spiritual one.
A spiritual
An evolutionary one.
Yes, I think so.
And go ahead.
Looking at what Sweden did and how open they stayed, and they figured that the dynamic between people and the businesses, and it was much more important, and they're doing okay.
Well, a country that respects their citizens are apt to do the right thing.
Well, I saw Del Bigtree did he had a team fly to Sweden. And one of the things, he went around and people were out and about, but one of the things that is different in Sweden that is not true here, and that they mentioned in this segment, was that the Swedes aren't huggy-feely people.
No, that's
Right.
And so they practice social distancing. I love hugs. I love hugs. And it's been so difficult, and I think that, and I remember telling my husband when he married me that, there are certain vows that you have. And one of them is, we need to give each other 8 hugs a day. It's like
hug.
They kissed all day long.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm a hugger.
Yeah. And so now we're looking at each other instead of saying, you're a human, a vessel of love. I'm looking at you. Ooh, will you contaminate me? Will you not contaminate me? Have you ever heard of, and do you believe, and I don't know if you have seen research, I would rather have research, is that a virus can affect somebody if you're asymptomatic? Because to me, that's even more fear and keeping us apart. What is your opinion on that, or research?
Well, I mean, the research is on this very clear also. So the reality is, are there hosts, the word is host, that you could be contaminated, could be on your clothes, could be on your hair, could be on your skin, and it doesn't enter at a level that causes a problem for you. So yes, I mean, many of us have that. The numbers that are coming out of California now, the universities there, that has never happened in the history of microbes. So when they're saying that they think minimally there were 220 million people contaminated, up to 440 million people contaminated with this. 1,000 people, not million. Literally, almost everyone was asymptomatic then. So it's only a fraction of people that showed symptoms. That's never happened in biology. That has to be through manipulation and we think we know what that is because but biologists have dissected it and looked at, they married 3 different viruses together that would never come together.
Right.
Well, I mean, if you go into the patent registry and you research, I've got the numbers for the patents, and I had to see it with my own eyes. I saw a documentary and they talked about it, and I stopped the I researched, and I feel such an obligation
Sure you do.
to all the students in the classroom, because I'm one of them. And I no longer want to repeat what people say. I want to bring new truths into this world. The old truth, and when I say the old truth is, like do unto others treat others the way you want to be treated. No, not everybody wants to be treated by ingesting a bug or a bacteria. Nobody ever wants to, who wants to be treated like that? I want to be treated with kindness and love, and somebody else may want to be treated a different way. And so treat others the way they want to be treated, the way they long to be treated, understanding and compassion and all that. Things like, that we learned in school, like if you get sick, go to a doctor. I'm not saying not to go to a doctor, but I'm saying that we have a healer within us.
Right.
And we were given that advocate to discern for us as well. But we little by little, we were taken, our power has been taken away. But when you see what's happening and you're opening your eyes and seeing, why would there be a patent for a naturally occurring virus?
Right.
Well, quite simply, this is not new. We interviewed a doctor on our radio show from Wuhan.
Yeah.
And she enlightened us of something we didn't know. The very first major war in history that they used biowarfare was in Wuhan, China, 85 years ago.
Mm.
It's the laboratory in Wuhan for the entire country of China, with 1,300,000,000 people, literally is the one that the United States government, with your tax dollars, funded to look at biowarfare technology.
3.7 million.
Now, these are not opinions from radical people. We're reporting data, facts, and history.
Mhm.
And, everyone would rather be an ostrich and stick their head. Some days I'd like to be this too.
Yeah,
but
me too. Me
You
too.
never need to stand and say everything's fine,
I know.
kumbaya, the world's great. And I'm an optimist. Although this is going on, if you want to be positive, if you want to eradicate fear, if you want to join the army of love, you've got to have wisdom and you've got to have knowledge. And once you have that, you raise yourself to the godliness that you deserve to be at, where you see clearly. And it's no longer an opinion. As you said, you don't listen to people's words and regurgitate them.
Correct.
You read things, and just because you read things isn't really what you're talking about.
You have to really dig deep now, because Google is full of things. And I said this a long time ago. We're only as smart as Google, and we can manipulate Google to have some information on there that's not real.
That's right. Well,
Absolutely.
I mean, when you're being, your small little wonderful program that does such good is being monitored. We know, because we were attacked, that there's 500 of us that they consistently target. They have trolls, and just in the United States alone, they spend $8 million a year paying those trolls to disseminate untrue information, fabricate stories. So this is how it is.
Yeah.
When corporate terrorism is what you see. And we talk about a pandemic. How about the statistics Anna Maria gave you? I think a pandemic is if every 30 seconds somebody dies of a heart attack, and every 4 minutes somebody dies of a stroke. That's a pandemic. How can we talk about these things?
Right.
Diabetes was 100 years ago not even listed in a medical journal. I've looked at them. I've read them. Didn't exist. One of the fastest growing diseases in history. Autism was non-existent.
Yeah.
And now it's 1 out of 36. And Dr. Seneff, who you have to have on your show, tells it's going to be 50% of the children born. Imagine a world where half the children are dependent upon their family. They never grow up. And what's the workforce going to be like in 25, 30 years?
And Alzheimer's epidemic, big.
Autism, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I was thinking that people are now being told that it's going to hit us again in September, October.
Crystal ball.
And they're getting us used to that. You're not going to have power because we're going to get you again.
Correct.
And I think people better take the time now and say,
Get
How can
strong.
I change? How can I change? Because I don't want to go through it again. But they are kind of brainwashing us that it will happen because they want to sell vaccines and they need more time to make the right kind of vaccines.
Well, here's some information that people don't maybe understand. You know, Bill Gates just walked away from his company Microsoft, and because he wants to save the world with these vaccines. But here's what people aren't talking about, because he's going to put his own money to get this new COVID-19 vaccine that you say is going to have a chip, it's going to have infrared. You can no longer falsify whether you have a vaccine or not. No longer could that be falsified because they have to do a scan you. And social distancing, you know, it's really hard to control a crowd when they're all put together, you know. So here's what people need to understand, that there's a conflict of interest when you own when you own stock, or when you're a part, or you own part of a vaccine company, and you also donate to the World Health Organization, also donate to the CDC, also, you know, are trying to go out there and say, you know, if you are next to a child that is not vaccinated, you should push that child away. That, you know, that even if you're homeschooled, or if you have religious freedom, or if you do not vaccinate, you will not be able to drive, you will not be able to fly, you will not be able to work, because you might contaminate. So what kind of mentality is that, when if you're vaccinated, let's say you're vaccinated and I'm not vaccinated, what do you care?
That's right.
I'm just going to contaminate other unvaccinated people. Where is that philosophy? Where's that mindset? Where does that make sense?
Yeah, the first 2 weeks after you're vaccinated, you contaminate other people. So that happens with every vaccine. When you take the MMR, you could now give measles, rubella, you could give that to the next person, because you are actually contaminating people around you. So that nobody's told.
Gardasil is a perfect example.
Yeah.
There are several dozen different strains that create cervical cancer of the virus, and this only works on 3 strains of it. And by the way, it is maiming and killing people. That fund that Anna Maria spoke about on the show earlier, literally they're paying out millions, hundreds of millions of years to American citizens alone, and most of them were for the flu vaccine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The vast, I think 70% of it was for the flu vaccine.
Well, there's also aluminum in all
Yes.
flu vaccines. And here's the thing, nobody's ever tested, and anyone who wants this information, I'll send you the links. That way you don't even have to, I can send you the links if you want this information. Because what people don't understand is that you can find the ingredients. And 3 years ago, when I first started researching vaccines, which I remember watching the documentary Vax and crying,
Yeah.
and trying to warn my children who have been told that that's the way it needs to be.
Right.
And, you know, I remember researching and going, wait a minute, dementia. They're saying that many people don't have dementia, that it's aluminum in the brain, or that it's not the shrinkage, that only 30% of people that are diagnosed with dementia, 30% have it. That means 70% have another reason why they're having a cognitive decline.
Yeah.
But what is in every flu vaccine? Aluminum.
That's right. And we used to say that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that it was a pans. And my grandmother laid the last 10 years of her life. She was so proud. She had no money. They used to shine the aluminum pans they bought from Woolworth. And the poor woman didn't know who we were for 10 years, laid in bed.
Yeah.
So I saw it firsthand, but you don't have to get it in pans anymore. You go to your doctor, he'll inject it, or she'll inject it into you.
It's really, really difficult, and it's blatant. And it's blatant because back in 1981, and I've been saying this little by little every day, every time I have the opportunity to say it, and look it up. In 1981, William Casey was quoted to saying that the disinformation program will be a success. And William Casey, by the way, is the head of the CIA. He was the director of the CIA. that we will know when our disinformation program is a success, when everything the American public believes is a lie. But what if, this is the question that I want to always leave you with, that what if everything you believe is a lie?
No.
What if? We're not that far from it. I've been watching the broadcast from, the White House on YouTube, not on television,
Right.
where there's a 2-minute delay where they can manipulate that too. And not too long ago, there was a whole scenario where Trump, and I don't want to get political here, Trump brought this person, which he paid for research, which I'm thinking, we all know that, where sun kills bacteria. And so he was talking about, using where you can hit somebody with light. You guys know all these different, like there's infrared, there's blood, the ultraviolet radiation, all that stuff. And Trump said something very minor about injecting these disinfectants. Well, the media didn't talk about the sun. The media, it talked about, and memes were created about people using bleach Clorox and putting it in the vein. But yet we get vaccines, and that's okay. And we can inject a toxic chemotherapy into the vein, and nobody bats a lash.
That's right. Well, it's again adherence. The abnormal becomes normal. I remember speaking to people that were in the Holocaust, and they said things that were unfathomable, unthinkable, you became so callous with that before you know it, abnormal became normal. And I think that's the world that they would like to see now. Henry Kissinger was caught on an audio saying that the model government of the future will be the Chinese model. And it's adherence. And as you know, the way to destroy a country is economically and morally. And if we don't have morals that we'll stand for and rights that we're willing to fight for, that we're not going to be here.
And that's, we could probably talk all day long. This is the first time I've been able to publicly speak about it, because I feel that with your strong background and the fact that you've done the research as well, we can have a conversation about this.
We were here to liberate you today, because you are. You're not Mary Poppins. You're Tilla the Hun.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this. I remember waking up, and I'm going to get emotional here, so I'm sorry about this, because I remember waking up when last year my guest couldn't come on. They had a family emergency. And the night before, I started learning about the censorship for YouTube and the censorship for Facebook. And I remember going, it was in my heart the night before. And then when I found out that my guest wasn't able to come on that morning, I just like, blah. I just started speaking about the importance of free speech.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the moment they take this free speech away from us, and I remember in the past, my father retired from the Air Force. He served for 20 years in the military, Air Force. I traveled around. I never had the desire. And my son wanted to go into the military, and I discouraged him to go into the military because I didn't feel it was our war to fight. And maybe that was misguided. And I know there's a lot of people who are called to that, and God bless you all.
Yes.
But fighting for freedom, for speech, I remember, talking about it. And it was in that class, I remember just breaking down thinking, I would put on a uniform for this.
Yes, I'm with you. Well, love, today we are going to make you a sergeant in the Army of Love.
Yes.
The army we created 45 years ago,
Yeah.
and we're marching around the globe. And to answer once again your listener who asked the question, we are all here, and we are the majority of people.
Yes,
And
we are.
just need leadership at this point, and it's coming.
I believe that too. And with that, Anna Maria, would you like to say some positive words of comfort for all of us who may have been shaken up a little bit, shaken but not stirred a little bit today?
Make every day matter. And every day that you now may be secluded and not working, make it matter. Take care of yourself as much as you can. Go to sleep early, take walks, be out in nature, make sure you get good air. And you know, the parks are going to open up. You can go to the parks, and eventually it will all open up and you can get back in shape. But then don't get back to the brainwashed food that you think you're going to have, the dairy products, the meat products, the peanut butter, and all the processed carbs. Get in shape and start eating fresh fruit and support organic farming and the probably farm stands where you're living. Now summer is coming, so get in shape.
Thank you. Thank you. Brian, anything you'd like to add?
I think the one word that comes to my heart and mind is trust. You have to learn to trust yourself, believe in yourself. When you look back at your life, think about all the greatness, all the gifts, all the great, extraordinary times that you shared with people that you love and your friends. And it gives you a sense that life's not only worth living, but it's worth fighting for. And so that's my message.
Yes. Yeah. With vaccines, that was the first time I said, we need to, for our children, this isn't my earth. I mean, I've lived a good life, and my children are now having children, and I need to do this for my grandchildren and my great grandchildren. And so, if something happens to me, well, at least, I can do it for my children and my grandchildren and the children after that. This is not our land, it's theirs. And so I want to thank you today for having this conversation with me today. This was not what we expected, not what I thought we were going to talk about today, but it's very important. And I hope that some of you have been awakened or curious, because if you are at a place right now where you're mad at me because of what you heard today, don't shoot the messenger. Be curious, not critical. You're angry with the truth. And so I ask you to research this. If you want any of the information that I've done, I'm more than happy to share it with you, but you've got to look it up. You've got to look it up and empower yourself with a new truth. The truth before doesn't support us anymore. This is a new truth, and we've got to take our power back. And I want to thank you guys for coming on today. For those of you who want to learn a little bit more, you can go to hippocratesinst.org. That's hippocratesinst.org. And the number is 1-800-842-2125. And they're doing their classes as well. I want to encourage you to tap into that as well. And let's all continue to grow together. One person can do some things, but all of us together, we're an overwhelming majority. So we've got to unite on this. It's not about Democrats or Republicans. It's not about libertarians or the wealthy or the poor. It's about one of us, which is all of us. So until we see each other tomorrow, I'm looking forward to our conversation, and I'm looking forward to more conversations with Anna Maria and Brian Clement. So for now, let's say goodbye to our channels here.